Hi, this is Jamie Wright, librarian, and today I want to talk with you about some series books for younger readers. Before I get started, I do want to say that while I get this request a lot, that series books are really popular for kids and parents and teachers because if a student finds something to read that they really like and it's familiar, it makes sense that we want to give them more of the same kind. It's not a risk. They already like the character, they like the style and the mood, so we want to just give them another one in the series because we know it's already a win. However, every time we buy a book that is distinctive, that makes room for more diverse stories within the publishing world. So even though it's a risk for a reader to try something new, it also, when we buy those kinds of books, it enables us to have this wide range of stories. So it might be kind of a strange take on a fantasy or a mystery or a brand new genre we've never seen before. So I would encourage you to still seek out standalone books and to model that for your children, because if we don't buy those types of books, then suddenly we only get what we expect and what we're familiar with instead of branching out and trying new things. Having said that, let's get started with 10 different series for younger readers. So the first one I want to share with you is the Yasmin series. This particular book is Yasmin the Superhero. It's written by Sadia Faruqi. And there's also Yasmin the Builder and Yasmin the Fashionista and Yasmin the Explorer. And this sits pretty well for first grade readers. You can see you have color illustrations and pretty well spaced text on the pages and very short chapters. So the reader can have satisfaction of reading a chapter and it's like, oh, look, it's a chapter book, but it's not that intimidating. It's not that long. And you also get some kind of fun things at the end. There's directions in this book about how to make a paper bag superhero and some fun facts about Pakistan as well. So the Yasmin series might be a good fit. There's also the Sadiq series. This particular one is Sadiq and the Desert Star, and he goes to a planetarium for a class field trip, and there are directions for building your own telescope in the back. You can see that this also blends color illustrations with spaced out text. This one was probably a better fit for second and third grade readers. And it blends some nonfiction content, like this one is about the planetarium. There's one about green thumbs and fun runs and the pet problem. So it blends a little bit of nonfiction information into a story that's generally about friendships and family. This one, given most students are really interested in animals and pets, My Furry Foster Family could be a really good fit. It was written by Debbie Machiko Florence, and this particular one is Truman the dog. There's one about Buttons the cat. And so the premise is that the family fosters pets, so you get to learn about what that means to foster a dog or a pet, and also how to take care of it. So you can see they have some full color illustrations, and the text is probably a fit for most of our second grade readers. This one is a short chapter. We're already on chapter 4 here. And again, not a real intimidating length. This next book has some charm. It's a little distinctive. The infamous Ratzo series. They are really pretty certain that they want to be big and bad and tough, and they actually end up doing good deeds instead. So it has to do with their neighborhood and their community and also a little bit of their family. This is written by Carol LaRue, and it has black and white illustrations and some pretty well spaced words and text on the page. So I would say this would be a good fit for advanced first grade readers and probably a very natural fit for a lot of second grade readers. Next, we have Zapato Power. This is written by Jacqueline Jules, and the subtitle is Freddie Ramos Takes Off. And the premise of this book is that when Freddie Ramos puts his shoes on, they give him super speed. So each book is about how are you going to use your Zapato power? Are you going to use it? Like, how would you use it? It prompts a lot of really good writing and discussion. I am a huge fan of this next series called Zoe and Sassafras. And it's kind of genre defying because it has a fantasy creature in every book, but really the charm of it is that it works these scientific processes so naturally into the story. So this is Zoe, and this is her cat, Sassafras. And this baby dragon she discovered in a barn, and she has to figure out how to take care of it. And so she has to put her thinking goggles on, and she develops a hypothesis, and she tests it in her notebook. But none of it is preachy. It's all very integral to the story and a natural need. So she works through all these scientific processes that are real in order to help the fictional creature. So each book has a different creature that they work to help. And it's really cute. The illustrations are black and white, and the text is, moderate. So I would say this fits really well for advanced second grade and third grade readers, or it works really well as a read aloud or a read together. So I'm quite a fan of this. Oh, and I didn't give you the author. This is by Asia Citra. El Rey Jakes by Sally Warner is another good series that I can recommend. This sits pretty naturally for fourth grade. Some of our third grade readers could probably access it too. It has a lot of issues about school and peers and stories like that. So this one is El Rey Jakes, the Recess King. There are a whole other collection of different books. And there aren't any earth-shattering serious problems, but they're all pretty relatable problems. So you can see it does have some illustrations, but generally it's a pretty typical middle grade novel, this series. I am a huge fan of Hamster Princess. This is Harriet the Invincible by Ursula Vernon, and I am a huge fan. I think it's hysterically funny. The premise is that she's a princess, of course, but she was cursed by a fairy, so she's invincible, so that means nothing bad can happen to her. So basically, she just goes around adventuring and doing all the stuff that princesses aren't supposed to do. And it has these really funny asides. So it talks about how, she would go rescue helpless maidens from terrible dragons. And then the maiden says, I was expecting someone taller. She goes, yeah, I was expecting someone less ungrateful. And then she goes on to say, and she would rescue helpless dragons from terrible maidens. And the dragon is going, you have to help me. She's eaten all the food in the house, and she's touching all my stuff, and she won't leave. And Harriet's going, it's cool, I'll handle it. And then from the cave, it's going, what do you mean? You don't have cable. So that's hysterically funny. And then she also, inexplicably, she rides a quail instead of a horse, which is funny to me. And the quail only ever says quirk, no matter what. So it could be comforting her and it says quirk, or it could be charging into battle and it says quirk. And I don't know, I'm not describing it as funny as it is, but it was really funny. So I'm a big fan of this series, and I think it's a little bit complex in terms of vocabulary. So probably a third or fourth grade fit, but I hope you love it as much as I do. I also just read this series recently, and it's really well done. This is Diamond Daniel. It's written by Nikki Grimes, who's done a lot of great stuff. So Diamond Daniel is this really confident, amazing person. So she moves to town, and she sees this grumpy boy in her class, and she's all like, well, you're not going to be grumpy on my watch. I'm going to go find out why you don't talk to anybody and what's going on. So her confidence is really beautiful, and she's just really appealing. The book is pretty short. You can see we're on chapter 4. This is Chicken Nugget Tuesday. And you can see we do have some illustrations and the text here. Probably a good fit for third grade. And there are several books in this series. And finally, I want to share this series with you. This is Liberty Porter, First Daughter. I really like this series because Liberty is just so happy, and nothing really terrible happens to her. It's just a fun story. Like, it just makes you feel good to read it. So her dad got elected president, and this book starts where she moves into the White House. And some people on the staff expect her to be very serious, but I mean, she's 9 years old, so she doesn't feel serious all the time. So basically, she goes around the White House and she explores, and she discovers that there's a chocolate factory in the White House, and that's pretty cool. And she sees the class touring the White House, so she invites the kids up to see her bedroom, and they kind of jump around and have a good time. So embedded in the story is some history about the electoral process and about the buildings and about the White House itself. So that's kind of an added bonus, but it's not preachy. It's worked pretty naturally into the story, and I think kids would really like it. This is a good fit for fourth grade. It's pretty straight up text. all the way through, and it's a little thicker than some of the books I showed you before. It does have some illustrations, but mostly this is a book with text in it. Advanced third graders and really advanced second graders could also access the material. There's nothing that's so mature they couldn't, but you can see it is a bit of a longer book. Great series though. So I hope you found at least one series you'd be willing to try. Happy reading.